had to be working on this for several days here, right?
Yes.
So in actuality, this was like the TJ Watt hold in, brief as it was, because the sides were on the verge of a deal, or at least talking seriously. You don't come up with a deal suddenly from out of the blue if you weren't getting close one way or another, at least talking very seriously about one, and not for 3 hours,
That's what I'm
for
thinking.
days, right?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking too. I think it was, I don't know about misled, but it was kept under wraps how much they were actually talking throughout this entire time.
Yes, we were told it wasn't close. We were told first nothing was going on, nothing imminent. Well, if it happens, it must have been imminent and they must have been talking. So this explains a lot why nobody had anything negative to say about Diontae, because they were on the verge of signing him to a deal. Now, the parameters of that deal may have changed, but you don't all of a sudden say, okay, forget about that, anything long term. Hey, how about 18.3 a year for 2 years? Oh, okay, let's do it. Like that
Yeah,
must have been
right.
on the table too, right? We
Correct.
could go long, we could go short here. There were multiple offers, and I would imagine negotiations on those on the table,
This
right?
couldn't have been a 24-hour thing. If he has a whole hold in training camp and then all of a sudden they get together for a couple hours and hammer out a deal, I got to believe that there was multiple days in the making.
So it's a 2 year deal, averages 18.3 a year. So again, he's closer to Hunter Renfrow money annually than he is even in the ballpark of DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin. That's just a fact. So this tells me what we knew all along, that he wasn't getting that kind of money. But it also tells me that him and his agent came to their senses and took the guarantee and can go out after that and go for the big money if he becomes a big star, right? Schefter saying it could be worth up to 39.5. So we are getting close to 20. I will admit they went a little bit higher annually than I thought they might,
Yeah.
but it's sort of mitigated by the fact it's only a 2 year deal. But he does get 27 million guaranteed dollars. Why would you go out and play for whatever his salary was going to be this year? What, 3 million or something? When and then see if you could go out on the open market, hope your body survives 17 games or more, which is a lifetime in the NFL, and it, to me, is very risky to play that game when you can have $27 million
Guaranteed.
guaranteed and be set for life and still go out a couple of years from now and get the big money if you earn it, right?
Yeah, after 2024, he'll be a free agent again. So he'll have another opportunity to cash in big. I
I
was I was a little surprised. I mean, I think overall they came to this number because they essentially had to, right? If they were going to get anything done right
yeah,
now. This had to be at what, 18.3 million. It had to be at least that given the wide receiver market. That's why I thought it was almost too late for this thing to come together, but I mean, obviously like we're just talking about, the talks had to be ongoing, had to be over multiple days. And I think this is a fair price ultimately that they've landed on.
I think we were sort of in the ballpark when I would throw out numbers to you and Ron, like, okay, how about 3 years, 48 million with 20, I think it was right on here, between 25 and 30 million guaranteed. He winds up getting
Mm-hmm.
27 on a 2 year deal. It makes sense to me. I'm glad he's here. I still would have considered trading him for a second round pick. I would have.
Me
But
too.
what you have here is a proven entity. He's at least a good receiver, maybe good to very good. And they just got him at a, compared to the market, at a bargain rate.
And he might be the perfect guy based on what he's done already in his career for a young quarterback. Because Ben Roethlisberger kind of used him as a safety blanket in a lot of ways over the last couple of years, did he
Yeah.
not? With the high volume targets and short passes. I mean, that's a lot of what Trubisky or Pickett or whoever can do with him as well. You'd like to see them utilize him more, but he's definitely got that as part of his game.
412-928-9370. 928-9370. Are you a fan of this deal? Diontae Johnson, 2 years, little over $18 million per season. Could get closer to $20 million, apparently with incentives, according to Adam Schefter. And $27 million guaranteed. I think that's great for him. I mean, that sets you up. You're done. You're set for life in terms of the guarantee. And the beautiful thing is he'll only be 28, and he can still go out for that one big killer deal. He turns 28, and a young 28. He just turned 26, so he might even be 27 when he actually signs his next deal. Great for him and great for the Steelers, I say.
And I think it lends more credence, though, to the idea of a hold-in and that being effective and ultimately getting what you're seeking.
But only if, well, did he get what he was seeking?
I don't know.
I don't think he got anywhere near what he was seeking. I think he would have obviously been seeking something close to what his draft mates got. I only think the hold-in I only think the Steelers will permit a hold-in. Well, let's talk about this. I have thoughts on that.
Okay.
We have to run. I'm looking up at the clock. I only think they'll permit a hold-in if a deal is close.
Okay.
But the concept of a hold-in we should talk about coming up next.
And I think we're getting, with more moves now, we're getting the Omar Khan era started, right? We can start to evaluate some of the moves that he's making.
Yes, we can. Overthecap.com, the guy who runs that site, I think, just had a tweet that encapsulates this new deal, and it's Diontae Johnson, 2 years, about 18.3 a year, 27 million guaranteed. Could apparently go up to 39.5 million overall with incentives. Jason says that's a good deal for the Steelers. Surprised that Johnson was willing to do that deal. Figured he would be aiming much higher. Well, he was very likely aiming much higher, but as a lot of people have pointed out here, and as we did, this is guaranteed money for him. They had the hammer of a franchise tag next year. Would they have used it? Maybe not. But what if he puts up 110 catches and 14 touchdowns this year? Why wouldn't you use it? Because then you could say over 2 years we got this guy for $30 million. Now they're going to get him for closer to $40 million. 27 million guaranteed. They get a good player on a really good deal with minimum term. What's there not to like from the Steelers' perspective about this? Can you think of anything?
I don't think so, unless they wanted somehow a longer term, but I can't think that they would have wanted that.
I'm sure they did at a cheaper price.
Sure. That would be the one thing that I would think might be a negative to this, but I don't know. If I'm the Steelers, I'm thinking we got a pretty good rate for this guy based on what the market is. I mean, he is the 17th highest paid receiver now per year in the NFL. He's right above Christian Kirk.
Sounds about right to me, man. It's right between Hunter Renfro's deal and the big guys, the big boys, Samuel, Metcalf, A.J. Brown, McLaurin. He wasn't going to get that.
Nope.
But he got a little bit more annually than I thought the Steelers were willing to give, and he got a real nice guarantee. Not like those guys. And I think Renfro down at the low end got 21, so Diontae beat him by $6 million. And you know what? Here's the other thing to look at from his point of view. Yeah, he didn't match what those guys got, but they're also locked in. He's not.
That's a great point.
He's not locked in, and if this market
is not his only shot to get his money.
Exactly.
In 2 years, if all goes well for him, he will have another shot to do that.
He'll just be turning 28, and unlike those guys, he now can take advantage of it if this market explodes even more, and why the hell wouldn't it? It's the NFL.
And I think for the Steelers, you minimize a little bit of risk with him because if you really think that the drops are an issue, if you really think that's going to be something that plagues him for his entire career, that's something that ultimately holds him back from being, say, a top 10 receiver, then you've only committed for the next 2 years.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say they plagued him necessarily last year. He ran into him late in the year at a very inopportune time.
They became a thing again. Which
they did. They did in the final few games. Yeah. No doubt. In the playoff game, they certainly did, which is a real bad time to have that happen. So, moral of the story for me is I think good deal for both sides. That's what I think right now.
Me too. Looks like a win-win.